Hi, this video will discuss long-run market supply curves for competitive firms. There's a separate video which discusses short-run market supply curves for competitive firms. So these two look a lot alike. The key difference between the long run and short run is in the short run, we assume the number of firms is fixed in the market, so you can't get a new firm in the short run. In the long run, however, the number of firms is not fixed. It can change, it can adjust depending upon the prices, the profits, the losses that is happening in the market. So let's show you what the market supply curve in the long run looks like. First, keep in mind again that in the long run, firms can enter. When would a firm want to enter the market? When they can make profits, right? When would a firm want to exit the market? When they're losing money, right? So in the long run, the number of firms can adjust. So the long run market supply curve is not constrained by the current number of firms in the market. It can increase or decrease depending on if there are profits being made or losses occurring. So before we determine the long-run market supply curve, we need first to determine how many firms are going to be open for business and how much they're going to produce at each price. So here's an image of this. So which cost curve serves as an individual supply curve? Very important you know which cost curve is represented here when we sketch this and put an S for supply. Yeah, that's a marginal cost curve. Okay, so the MC curve is the firm's supply curve, because remember, firm wants to produce where MC equals MR. The price is the MR. This is the MC part of it. So the market supply curve simply adds up all of our individual suppliers to get the market. And then this curve, as more firms enter, this curve gets flatter and flatter. So this part looks identical to our previous discussion about short-run market supply curves, how we find them, adding them up. And here, then, is the role of entry and exit. So we assume in competitive markets that firms have free entry and free exit. This is where it is important in the long-run market supply. So when would firms enter? We just mentioned that previously. Firms enter if there's a long-run profit being made, if profits are bigger than zero. When do firms exit a market? To avoid long-run losses, when profits are less than zero. So in the long run, firms, competitive firms, will be breaking even. The market will be breaking even. And so firms are breaking even, there's no incentive to enter, there's no incentive to exit. That's our long-run equilibrium. So when we have identical firms, in the long run, the market supply curve will be flat. And this flat horizontal market supply curve will occur at the minimum of the long-run average cost curve, as long as three conditions are met. First condition, firms can freely enter and exit the market. Second condition, to have this long-run flat market supply curve at the long-run average cost minimum, if there is an unlimited number of firms that have identical cost. And the third assumption needed to have this flat long-run market supply curve is that your input prices must be held constant, not changing as more firms enter, or firms exit for that matter. So what does this look like? A market supply curve that's a flat market supply curve that's not positive slope. It's this image, that we have identical firms in the long run, all have the same cost structure. So in the long run, as we add more firms, they all produce at this minimum point of their average cost. Every firm is just like this. As you add firms, does not impact our input prices. So longer market supply, we can supply as much as we want at that price of 10, the minimum of our longer average cost, which is where it intersects the MC curve. This is a longer market supply curve when we have constant costs.